Welcome in, welcome back, everybody. Look what we have here. It is the John and the Double Mics episode here. We're getting the band together, and it is, of course, Mike Singer of Blue and Gold Illustrated. Find him on Twitter at Mike T. Singer. I'm sure if you're subscribed here, you're subscribed over there as well. And of course, Mike Goolsby, you know him from here and over there. Mike's everywhere. Welcome in, you guys. This is great. Good to be with you both.
It's good to be in.
John.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Singer had thrown that out of shoot. I mean, time's flying, fellas. But yeah, a month ago, he's like, oh, let me get in on some of that action. I'm like, yeah, dude, here we are. Absolutely. So off season, guys.
Yeah.
Why not? Right.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the time for that. Although I got to tell you both, I had kind of a sad moment today, kind of getting organized for this show, and it involves both of you. I was thinking about the last time I shared a screen with Mike Singer, and it made me realize it was a couple days before Notre Dame and Ohio State, and I joined you guys on Blue and Gold channel. And I had genuine hope. Like I remember the feeling in me coming on that show and the vibe of that week and the energy and everything that was building up to that moment. And it brought me back to that feeling back when Johnny Boy had a little hope. And so it was good while it lasted. There was a lot of energy there. But so I had a little bit of a sad kind of retrospective moment on that one. A little disappointing.
Yeah, John, it's the hope that'll get you, man.
Yeah.
It's the hope that'll get you. But what that did start is this beautiful marriage of the two guys above me here in John and Mike and the awesome things you guys have been doing on your YouTube channel and the Patreon. So round of applause to this beautiful odd couple of John Kennedy and Mike Goolsby.
We are the odd couple. We are the odd couple.
Singer's the tie that binds. But yeah, I mean, that Patreon thing kind of had to happen, and it's been fun. And as John and I like to say, I mean, a lot of folks talk ball. You know, Singer, you and I really talked about that as well. Kind of like it's okay to have a little bit of entertainment value with your Notre Dame content, personnel talk, film breakdown, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and thanks for bringing it together. John, you're talking about hope. You know, you ripped off a little Patreon solo soliloquy last night. You know, and Singer, he's like, we should have went 12-0. He's like, we should have went 12-0. So reeling from 2023 going into 2024. Singer, you're on the boards. Johnny, you're the kind of the pulse guy, the vibe guy. How do we think the fan base feels going into 2024? As hopeful as last year or not?
Here's one thing I feel. Tell me if both of you guys feel this, because I do. I feel like there's a lot less hype around Riley Leonard coming to Notre Dame than there was when Sam Hartman came into Notre Dame as a transfer guy who has numbers elsewhere coming in. I feel the dial is toned way down on that. Do you guys agree or not? Let's start there.
Why do you think that is? And I can tell you one reason. And I think part of it might be, Goolsby kind of warning us on Hartman last year. So I think just the whole Sam Hartman experiment and experience, I think, is a big part of that. It's like, man, I don't want to, fool me once, shame on me kind of deal. Yeah. Or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. That's kind of what I'm thinking about it, especially when you have, knock on wood, the injury history that exists. But a good thing that we got a darn good backup quarterback in Steve Angeli.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think people really did buy into Hartman, and it was more than the looks, but people really did buy into that body of work and all those statistics and
the body.
Oh yeah. Well, when I say a body of work and body in general, I guess, I'm just telling you, people really bought in. It was like, we finally got a guy with the body of work that could throw the ball. We never have that. This is going to change things, whatever. And it didn't go as well as anybody wanted. And it's very, very hard to parse out why, because there were a lot of things involved in that mix offensively. But I think I'm feeling that's the number one thing, is that quarterback thing is toned way down to me. Also, here's something else I'm gathering from the stuff I do. And this is more up both your alleys as talent guys and looking at recruits and that kind of thing. I keep saying I feel that this staff is recruiting differently and has a different vision, going about it differently. Like I like what I'm seeing and all that. People are ready to see that translate on the damn field. Like they just are. And you understand year 1 and 2, new coach, getting situated. I feel the pressure, that internal clock of like, it's about time people are ready to start seeing this deliver on the field. And year 3 is a big year for that. Historically at Notre Dame, year 3, Freeman, year 3, the playoff changing. It's all lining up. You got a big game right out the gate, week 1. I think people are wanting to get excited, but they're kind of like, man, can I really dive right in yet? That's what I'm feeling, a little bit of that. Does that resonate with you guys at all?
I mean, I'll go first, Singer. Yes, it does. But there's a face value, John, and then when you get into the weeds a little bit, as I've been kind of doing through the offseason, like really kind of scouring the roster, Singer jumping back a couple years. You know, when's the last time you saw Ty Chan's high school highlight film? You tend to somewhat forget who these kids were, why they were ranked high, whatever. So it's a fun experiment to jump back. All I can say is that since Singer and I have been talking about recruits and we did a little bit of that on the Patreon, I've liked each class more and more and more as they've gone on. 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. I even like those kids that are committed. Kids that move a little bit differently, Singer. My one area of concern, I don't think that this leap, John, is going to be as drastic as people think. I think it's going to be a big leap potentially at the quarterback position just because of the skill set and just the overall ability of a Riley Leonard. My one caveat to I love the way these dudes move is they're a little bit small, and not to make Logan Thomas like a whipping boy, fellas, but Logan Thomas runs really well, has some nice bursts, some nice fluidity as a defensive end Viper type guy, but he's sub 200 pounds. So this is going to be an interesting thing for me personally to keep my eyeballs on is the Lauren Landau infusion. How does that work with the strength, adding size with some of these recruits?
Yeah, you mentioned Logan specifically. I know Notre Dame loves him to death. Not only does he kind of look like Keon Keeley, Notre Dame thinks that they have a player who's similar to that, that kind of overall talent. Now, Keon coming out of, Tampa Berkeley preps about 230 or so. So there's definitely the size difference there. But Notre Dame does think that they have a lot to work with. I have a couple other thoughts. And thinking as much time as I spend on our blueandgold.com message board, shout out to the GOAT, Loose Emoji. We call the board the Loose Emoji board. Of course, after him, I don't feel like there's even a ton of all right, let's talk about 2024 expectations. Yeah, I still feel like Notre Dame fans are still wanting to, yell about Michigan season or, talk about, portal stuff or whatever it is right now, because as you guys know, there is no real off season in this line of work. I mean, yeah, we do content all of the time, YouTube, website, all that stuff. So I feel like we haven't really turned even the page yet to have those in-depth discussions. But as I think about the 2024 schedule, I have people tell me all the time, my buddy Tim Hyde, who I do the Wednesday show with the Blue and Gold, is like, oh, this schedule's so much easier. And I'm looking through it. I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I mean, you have you open the road at A&M. Who knows what the hell they're going to be? You still have some heavy hitters on there. And you didn't look at last year's schedule and circle Louisville as a loss. Upsets can happen on there. You didn't think, oh, Clemson's down, we're still going to go and lose there. So I just still push back on the 2024. It's an easy schedule. Could it be easier? Sure. Maybe there's not the elite at the top, and maybe the floor is a little bit lower per se. But I just think there's still. I mean, you're playing Florida State. I mean, you're playing Louisville. Like, there's games that Notre Dame can lose. So I think that people are like, all right, this is a shoo-in. We're making the playoff. Maybe we'll lose the game, but we're making the playoff because of this schedule. I mean, have you watched college football? Have you watched Notre Dame? They will lose some games that they're supposed to win. So that's my one thought about the 24 schedule right now.
I think when I look at it, I can see what you mean. I also think people feel a little better about this schedule because of the way it's spaced out. It seems more comfortably spaced out around your big game moments that are the big game moments. You don't have, 8 weeks in a row with no break. That ended up catching up to Notre Dame as well. I don't care what anybody says. It ended up catching up to them. And also, it's Louisville, but you're not going to their Super Bowl at night at that place. They're coming to Notre Dame. That makes me feel better. Yeah, you got Florida State, but they're coming to South Bend. That makes me feel better. Everybody respects the hell out of Mike Elko. If there's ever going to be a great chance to nail a Mike Elko team unprepared, it's year 1, week 1. So that's the time to get Mike Elko in Texas A&M. So I think it's spaced a little more favorably. And if Notre Dame can find a way to leave Texas A&M with a win, I'm going to be devastated if they're not undefeated when Florida State comes to town in November. That's how I see that middle run.
Well, let me tell you how I see it. I think Notre Dame is going to go to USC at the end of the year with 1 loss, and I think that's going to be like a you win you're in kind of thing. It's going to be like a playoff to get into the playoff. That's how I see it.
I agree with you, John, in terms of comparing 2023, 2024 schedules. 2023 opened up with 4 cupcakes. Sam Hartman's going to New York. John, you're over there freaking out. Haven't seen an offense like this.
46 a game in the first month. Give me a break.
Oh, yeah.
Mike,
yeah.
We do this every time. You give me a hard time for being excited about that because we go, look at who it was against. And then my retort to you is, I've seen Notre Dame play a 4-game slate like that a bunch of years where they scored 20 a game. So I know it was against lesser opponents, but when you're averaging 46 or whatever, I'll take it. And I took it till we didn't get it anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. But I don't want to hear it. When you start licking your wounds, it's like, again, you did it to yourself. I'm right here. Singers, hey, call Singer, call me, good voice of reason sometimes, bring you back down. But yeah, I think the way 2024 gets set up, those lesser teams are kind of interdispersed between the big games on your calendar. But I think, Singer, we all kind of anticipate the 24 team making it to the playoff.
Yeah.
And then, John, real quick, when you kicked off this conversation, it was sort of hinged on the talent acquisition, the recruiting. That's why your hope arrow is kind of pointing up. And then that's when talent really comes to the surface, is in that bowl game, elite on elite, type scenario, right? So that's when we're going to kind of really get a chance to see how good we actually are.
Yeah.
To me.
But you guys talking about, like, Singer, you being like, I'm looking at the schedule, there's some landmines there and all this. I'm just telling you, Notre Dame fans are going to lose their minds if they don't make the playoff. Everybody, we may not be talking about it and have our minds ready yet, but that's baked in. There is no one I've talked to that isn't baking that in the recipe. That's just like expected now.
All right.
It is.
I did pull up the schedule actually after I said that. Now, as I'm actually looking at it, yeah, all right. Yeah, it shouldn't be very difficult. I still think there's an opportunity to have a trip up before USC, but only having 4 true road games. I mean, maybe only 3 if you count Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz, a neutral site, but at Purdue, at A&M, and at USC.
And we still have one to be named later, right?
Yeah, which I do believe will be Army, probably at a neutral site as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's really A&M and at USC. So even if you split there, you're looking one. But again, no one expected Marshall a couple years ago. No one expected Stanford. But of course, different teams. But just saying, like,
but
it's
also like Duke. You knew we all had Duke circled as going to be a tough game no matter what. But them beating Clemson to open the year last year changed things even more to a whole different level. Like, didn't we play a month of teams in a row that were all undefeated? Like, that was just a rare thing where you were getting hit. And I just think this gives us a little break from that. If you can just find a way to win week one. Seriously, because if you don't, you can make the playoff and all that, but all the air's let out of that balloon week one, from the buildup, the excitement of all August, everything. No one has any losses. Everybody has hope. And then to let the air out of the balloon week one would be like more of big game Notre Dame again. What do you know? 30 years in a row, write it up. Like, it's just a big moment. It's a big moment.
It's a big moment. This is the other interesting thing about A&M. It's like, had A&M not had that big recruiting class a couple years ago, Singer, I mean, who is A&M, right? I mean, it was like, that was scary that they had that big recruiting class. It's kind of falling apart, but like, A&M ain't shit. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, A&M ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? So it is a big game because it's on the road. I mean, it'll be a big time environment. You brought up something earlier. We all respect Elko. Maybe the best time to catch him is year one, week one, whatever. And it's like, for sure, maybe we can get him on the ropes. But it's only fitting at Notre Dame, our new hotshot toy at quarterback, Riley Leonard, potential first rounder. It's like, well, he has to go play his former coach, who happens to be a defensive savant, week one. It's like, that's the only way it would turn out.
And also with the lingering leg injury caused by Notre Dame, it's just everything comes full circle to roost at Notre Dame. So, but then again, Mike, you and I had the argument last week where I asked you, honestly, is Texas A&M a must-win for Notre Dame? And you almost chokeslammed me through your camera here and said, are you out of your mind? Of course it's a must-win.
Well, yeah. They say, John, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but it's like, of course it's a must win, dude. Of course. Every game's a must win. It's Notre Dame, John.
Yeah, okay, but saying every win is a must win, then why do any of us have these shows then? You could just say every game you got to win. There's nothing else to talk about. I'm just saying you could lose that game to week one and still make the playoff if you're Notre Dame. Right?
Yeah, John, but you can't, like, you're a golfer, dude. There is no mulligan. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not a mulligan. It's like, you can't, I mean, if you're Freeman, if you're Landau, you're Golden, you're Denbrock, right? You can't go into that camp, that offseason, summer conditioning with being like, well, if we lose, it's not the end of the world. You just can't have that approach.
Mike, but I'm not them.
Yeah, Mike, take the player hat off.
Can I think that in my basement?
Take the player hat off, Mike, and think media guy.
Dude. No, the player hat stays on.
But I don't expect Freeman to be like, we have Texas A&M week one. It'll all be good even if we lose. No, I'm just saying, like, from me sitting here, big picture, there is a wider lane for Notre Dame to lose that game and make our goal, but it wouldn't be ideal, and you're killing all your momentum and you're killing all your leeway then if you do. That's the problem.
Singer.
If you get, I think we would all agree, Notre Dame in the 12-team setup, most years, 0 losses or 1 loss, you're in the playoff.
What about 2, Mike? Where do you think Notre Dame falls if they go 10-2? I've been fighting this in my own brain.
If you're 10-2 and you get in, thank your lucky stars. But if you don't, you really can't pitch a fit. That's kind of how I feel about it. You can't, be too upset if you have 2 losses and you're not playing for a title. I mean, come on. I know that's happened before with that LSU team, decade or so ago, but John, like, yes, you can lose that game, but the margins for error after that
Yeah.
point are so
And your
extremely
momentum.
thin. So sure, technically there's the chance, John, but come
But
on,
it's like
it's a must win.
it's what I want to avoid is I'm always the emotional guy, waving my arms around.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
you haven't learned that about me.
No,
I'm always the
no.
guy getting worked up. And here I am again, getting all worked up 8 months in advance about what a big deal week 1 is. And it's like, I don't always want to be that guy, but it feels like another big moment where Notre Dame has an opportunity with everybody watching to change a little bit of the narrative. Are they going to be a top 5 team? No. But I'm already fielding messages going, oh, those Notre Dame boys, they don't want none of the SEC. They can't run with all of those narratives. Notre Dame in the big game, all of that stuff. So it would kill your momentum right off the bat if you don't get it done. So get Elko then, because it's going to be a lot harder the next year when they come to your place week 1. Yeah, it'll be at home, but Elko will have a whole year to get everything anchored there. So now's your chance.
Can I ask a question, an administrative question? And this is, John knows this. Singer, you know, some of this stuff I don't care. Like, it goes over my head. Who's eligible for this 12-team playoff? Are group of 5 schools eligible for this thing? Forgive me that I don't know this.
Doesn't the highest ranked group of 5 team gets in every year?
Okay.
So there's actually one less available spot because you have the regular conference champs and then the highest rated group of 5. That's why it's key Notre Dame, if they make it, gets that 5 seed, which means you get to host probably that team at Notre Dame in late December.
Yeah. So the reason I guess I asked that or posed that question was I'm trying to cook something up here. I'd always said, going back to Hartman, it's like, you know, he hasn't played at a Notre Dame. He hasn't taken every team's best shot, Louisville, Super Bowl, et cetera, John. And it's like, I think maybe the same thing could be said for Riley Leonard, because I don't think too many teams are circling Duke on their schedule, you know, in terms of they're not getting geeked up because they didn't get recruited by Duke in the way people tend to. Notre Dame didn't look at me, whatever. But the fact that you can get that group of 5, some of these like maybe lesser schools in the picture, there's some sort of connective tissue between like teams going at Notre Dame, giving them their best shot. And then it's like, there's a lot more teams, Captain Obvious over here, but there's a lot more teams that have a shot to get in. So when you talk about a 2-loss thing, it's like there's going to be more Kansas States of the world that are trying to eke their way in. Those kind of Cinderella stories where a Notre Dame could potentially get bounced out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's just, sometimes I don't know whether Notre Dame's brand, how far does that carry you when we get into this new playoff? When they're deciding between new blood and putting a new team in, or Notre Dame on that borderline? I don't know. But again, like Singer's saying, if you go 10-2 and you lose your 2 biggest games, are you really in a position to complain that much? Like, you lose the 2 big ones on your schedule? Who are you to complain then? I don't know.
I've always been of the mindset, and you go back to like that traumatic like Alabama beatdown, right, in the championship game. It's like, until we're ready, guys, you know, until we're ready to be elite, I'd almost want us to just kind of knock on the door. Does that make sense? If we lost 2 games, maybe we don't want to be in the playoff and get embarrassed round 1. Does that make sense? You know, save for an injury or something like that.
Mike, is that your player helmet or your media helmet? Like, what do you have on right now?
That's my alumni helmet.
Okay.
That's like, you know,
what would a player Mike
fight.
Goolsby say?
Would
you want a shot for the title still, do you think?
It depends on who we lose to and how those loses feel. This is such a lame answer. I apologize.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, if I feel like if we don't stand a chance, like our bowl game, but back 20 years ago, Willingham got fired. We had to go play in the bowl game. I voted on the team vote to not go to the bowl game as a captain. I was the only senior that didn't vote. I didn't want to go. I wanted to go train for the NFL because I knew we were going to lose. You know, we were 116th in the country in pass defense, whatever, and all Oregon State did was throw the ball. I was like, we're pigs walking into a slaughter. You know, forgive me. Of course, you want to go compete, whatever, but I was like, we don't stand a chance. So that just depends on what the team sentiment is. You know, Did you lose your starting quarterback? Do you have some big injuries? How did we lose these games? It's tough to say.
Okay.
But that's where I'm at.
I get that. And here's what I think about in that discussion. I've thought about this too. This is not going to be Major League Baseball or hockey where you could be a wild card team, get in, and you suddenly turn it on and get hot and make a run. It happens a lot with hockey and baseball. Football teams, the best ones are usually the best ones. Like you could have little heaters where you're really in rhythm for a stretch, but usually in college football, the best teams, you have a good idea who they're going to be before the year. And in the year, they're usually the good teams. I do think it would be unlikely if you lost your two toughest opponents in the regular season that you would turn it on and then be great after that. But all it takes is one of those upsets, and everybody's going to use it as the test case and go, there you go. So I think it's unlikely, but you got to be in it to win it. Everybody would rather be in it than not be in it, right? I don't know.
The thing I'll add when we talk about making a playoff, and John, I'll play the Guns N' Roses song if I have to. We'll play Patience. But it's like, this is a process, and we're just inching our way up, going back to the recruiting, building a staff, retaining a Chad Bowden, all these great things, retaining Al Golden, fingers crossed, etc. Big time hire in Denver. We're inching. I just want to be like year in and year out. I want to be a top 10 team. It's like etch it in stone, and then we build from there. Does that make sense? So it's like, are we a national? Dude, this is so weird. But unless we think that we're a national championship caliber team, what's the point of winning one game in the playoff and then getting bounced? It's like, it's all or nothing. So it's like some of that's for the narrative, but it's like, I just want to make the playoff to year after year after year to get established as a top 10 team. You can get a few more special players, a Deuce Knight into the fold. And then it's like, now we got a shot. Now we got a real shot. We have a handful of elite players scattered throughout the roster. Let's go try and win a championship. I don't know if we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I could see. I think that's fair. But I also, you got to understand, with this expanded playoff, Notre Dame fans expect to be in that thing. There is no, like Mike, it is not going to be one of these, we'll go to the Camping World Bowl and watch everybody else in the playoffs and call it a success. That's over. That's over. This new playoff turns the sheet, man. That is all over.
Singer, talk to me about the message board at blueandgold.com. $1 for 3 months or something, right, Singer?
Promo code UND1. Yeah.
That's it. So help me make sense of this. This is me being a meathead ex-player, right? So it's like, fans, it seems like, and I want your all's feedback, fans delineate between making a playoff and winning a championship. It seems like they're two separate entities. Is that accurate?
I guess. Go on.
I'm just saying, it's like, do we want to win a national championship? Well, yeah, duh. But it's like, I don't think that fans are thinking about a national championship. They're thinking about making a playoff. And of course, one has to come before the other. But it almost seems like the playoff is like a shortened version of the finish line. That has to make sense. All anybody talks about is making the playoff. It's like, you know what I mean?
As a Dolphins fan of, post Marino, I've seen one Dolphins playoff win in my life. So I get it. I just want to see the Dolphins win a playoff game, and I'll be happy. I haven't seen it before. It's my little John Kennedy in there. So yeah, I mean, if a Notre Dame, but I feel like Notre Dame's been to the dance. So I think maybe Notre Dame fans, that line, Mike, is to win one of the playoff games. Even though it's 12 now, it's not as special as, the 4 team and then winning one and you're in the title game. So maybe that line for some Notre Dame fans is just, let's just win a playoff game. And then there will be some sense of accomplishment, but your mileage is going to vary on that. I have some Notre Dame fans on the board who, they're not happy unless there's 35 stars in the class. Some are just happy with, whatever that the staff takes and they just trust the staff. So again, your mileage varies on it.
Yeah, no, that's some of it also. some of it depends on what this all looks and feels like. Like a first round matchup at Notre Dame Stadium on December 20th against a non-Power 5 team, there's going to be a different set of expectations than if Notre Dame makes it as a lower seed and has to go to Columbus for their first game or something. Like, that's the other thing. Nobody knows yet what this is all going to look like. So I think that might be another reason where people are going, can we just make sure our hat's in the ring, and then we'll kind of sit back and see what this actually looks like and then figure out what the reality is then.
Yeah.
I feel some of that because no one knows what this is going to look like.
So Notre Dame can't host, or I'm sorry, Notre Dame does not get one of those top 4 spots. I think their highest they can finish is fifth. So, Mike, that means, let's say they go undefeated, right? And they end up with the 5 seed. They're going to play the 12, I think it is, in that first round. Do you kind of do you even like that over getting, one of those top 4 spots? Like, do you like kind of getting like that liberty, fingers crossed it's a Liberty, not a Boise State, and you just beat the crap out of them? Like, do you like that? Or, because I can't remember the entire playoff format, if who gets a bye or whatever it is, but I don't know, Mike, I was just curious for your thoughts on that.
So you're saying playing a less of a brand name program round 1? I'm all for it. I mean, it's whatever creates the easiest path. And like, if you look at what Michigan did this year prior, I mean, that's kind of the template, is just to coast as much as you can. It's just kind of the template. So yeah. Now, let's say it is a Liberty, just for an example. How did we look against a Florida State? How did we look against an A&M, a USC throughout the year? Physically, how do we match up, right? Because it's like we eked out those wins, and then we beat a Liberty by 3 touchdowns or something. I don't know if I'm that much more confident going into round 2 because we barely eked out these other games, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, like, in the NFL, you get a team who had that first round bye, which the top 4 seeds all get a first round bye, and then you got the wild card team that's hot, and you don't want to play them right now. But then John brings up the point, like, I don't know, like, you don't maybe see that as much in football. Maybe not the NFL, but will we in college football? Who the hell knows? We'll find out soon if you can make a run in this 12-team playoff and just get hot as a 11 or 12 seed and make a run, a Cinderella run type deal. We'll see.
Number 5 is the key, you guys, because if you're number 5, you get to host the home game in your cold ass weather, which I love. Then if you win that, then you go to a neutral site against the lowest rated top 5 Power 5 conference winner. That's going to be Notre Dame's path, because you get the cold weather home game. Then you get to face probably not the SEC or Big Ten champion in the next round. If you want to talk about a path, that's going to be about the most favorable one I could think of for Notre Dame. But then again, who knows? It's football. Who knows? So I just want to be a part of it. You got to be a part of it this year. I don't want to be. I'm not having this be. There's this great new party. I'm not doing this where there's this great new party everybody's going to, and then we're not invited. I'm not doing it. Year 1, be involved. Just get involved. I want to plant the flag year 1 and let everybody know we're doing this new thing, and get used to Notre Dame being a part of it.
I agree. And Singer, you're talking about momentum, basically, like that wild card team kind of analogy. That's what I don't know, at the college level and the college game with college kids, all of the things that they have to deal with. I don't know how consistent, momentum can be, week to week, a big break before the playoffs, several weeks off. I don't know what that looks like versus NFL guys that are week in, week out. Does that make sense? If you're an NFL team that's on a hot streak and it's just like, that's all you're doing, that is your life.
Week 7. Week 18 is a week before the wild card. Yeah. These kids have a month off. Yeah.
So I think that's a thing. But John, I got to call you out, because you're nuts, dude. You're talking about you're going earlier, and you had a whole episode devoted to this. Let me finish. You're like, Mike, do we need to win Texas? We did a whole show on it. Do we need to win Texas A&M? I'm like, yeah, dude, of course. Of course. And then you're going, and then fast forward, where's the fast forward button? 8 minutes later, you're like, oh, we got to get that 5 seed. It's like, well, which one is it?
I'm trying to be reasonable and it's backfiring. I'm trying to not be the guy that puts all the pressure on one game. And see, that's what I get. I finally try and cool off a little bit and try and take that angle. And I'm getting ripped for that. So never mind. Screw it. It's a win against Texas A&M or shut the program down there. Like, but I don't want to be the boy who's always crying wolf. And the wolf is me getting worked up about the next shiny thing heading Notre Dame's way. But here we are again, and it's just such a big moment. And Notre Dame needs to win one of these moments. We just have so much evidence of heartbreak and all those biggest big game moments. Some team, some Notre Dame team and coach and players has got to break that. Be the ones that make those few plays that change a big game. We're always on the wrong side of it. And I predict once we break through it, that pressure goes away. Whether those guys feel it or not, it's there. I feel it as these years and results compile. And then I think this all breaks open and you have some better talent. You have Freeman more experience. We're off to the races. Go ahead, Goolsby.
I want to talk a little bit about Denbrock juxtaposed against 2023 with Coach Parker in big games. You know, the pucker factor. Singer, bring you into this, like the recruiting piece. What do recruits, offensive recruits specifically, what do they say about Denbrock? What is their overall sentiment?
Yeah, so a lot of the recruits, that was their first time talking to him, was at the junior day. I think even Deuce, like Denbrock was on the job for like a week or something, or a week or two before, and I want to say that was like his real first time talking to him. And from my conversations with the recruits on the campus for that junior day on January 20th, it was ball talk. Like they talked ball. Sure, you know, did they have some small talks at dinner and stuff? But like when it's your time to meet with Denbrock, it's not, hey, let's go, you know, talk, let's have an academic discussion, or, you know, let's go hold hands down by the lake. It is let's get into film. Like let's really dive into the ball. So that's the biggest thing, is that like his resume and his football smarts, that is what the recruits are very excited about with Mike Denbrock, and obviously the track record, you know, with having the Heisman winner last year. And then, you know, I think the recruits, and I do too, love, you know, how much this guy loves Notre Dame and that it's his third time there. So that's definitely speaking to them as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Dude, kids. So a kid like, and it's funny because a kid like Deuce is going to need some time to, you know, continue to develop and add to his just God-given like size, talent, etc. Do recruits like that film, football talk? Is it case by case? Some kids are more, have a higher, I don't want to say IQ, football IQ, but just they've been exposed to more. Like a Jaden Greathouse is going to do a lot better on a chalkboard than other
Mike,
kids.
I hear all the time, and I'm sure you do too with your training kids. Some kids don't love football. Like they don't watch football on Saturdays. Like they would rather be playing, you know, video games or doing whatever, you know, kids do these days. So maybe watching film is not their favorite thing to do. So I would say that, like, if you're like a 3-star kid, it's a very general term. If you're like a 3-star kid and you're not a football junkie, man, if you're a 3-star kid and you are someone who doesn't love film, I don't know if you're, you know, I don't know if Notre Dame's going to be recruiting you. For you to be the kid who doesn't love football, you better be elite, right? You got to be a top end talent, because, you know, it kind of's got to make up for, you know, you're not absolutely going crazy over the game of football. But anyways, to kind of come back to your question, Mike, I would say the visits can be personalized. You know, if you're going to Notre Dame and maybe that's not your favorite thing to do, and Notre Dame's trying to land a commitment from you, they're not going to spend too much time with it. But I would say the overwhelming time, majority of the time, the kids do love that. You know, the coaches will put on film of the player that they coach that reminds, you know, hey, here's who I coached at the quarterback position, Deuce, that, you know, I think that you play like, and here's a play of your film of your junior season, and look what you did, and this is what we did with him. That's the kind of thing that they'll do. So I think, you know, when you're on a visit and the coach is hyping you up and telling you how great you are and how he's going to, you know, do these great things, you know, with you on their team, then, yeah, that's usually going to go well.
That's interesting when you talk about loving football. And I always go back to that little snippet that you had with Jalen Sneed when he was coming out. And Jalen Sneed was just blown away, John. Mike's talking to him at some camp environment. And he was like, yeah, I went to Notre Dame. And like, I learned that there's more to football than just like playing. You know, we watched film and it was just like that. So a little bit of a light bulb started to like flicker for Jalen. Like, oh, there's more to this than just running and hitting. Yeah. You know, so kids might love football, but it's like, what do they like? The attention, girls, you know, the fame, or do they love the, you know, the quote unquote grind, film being a part of that? Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. But I just think, John, going back to like any of your concerns or, you know, even your whole thing about F it, I'll say it, we should have went 12-0. You know, John's going.
Hey, I was trying to prove a point on something here.
I hear you, but so now you've got a coach in Denbrock with a ton of experience that's played in these SEC environments, who's not, I would like to think, going to be afraid to let him hang in that like Ohio State type environment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There isn't going to be the pucker factor that we saw last year.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really think that's going to make a big difference. You could see Parker struggling. You could see it. You could feel the struggle of that guy trying to navigate. You could just feel it through your TV. You could just feel the anxiety of him in that booth of like, just dial up something that can work. It was just a struggle. You could feel it all year. Singer, I want to step back a little bit and ask you something. Okay. And I'm genuinely surprised I haven't asked this because it's a very remedial question, but you're the perfect guy to ask because of your niche and role in this ecosystem. And that question is, after a couple full years and then now whatever we're doing in this recruiting cycle, is the Freeman recruiting operation overall to you about what you thought it would be at this point in his tenure? Is it ahead of that level in some ways or behind?
Okay.
And that is a nuanced question. It could just be star rating or other things you look for. But you're more of a kind of a neutral arbiter than somebody like I would be who's programmed Notre Dame. Yeah. I would love your unbiased perspective on your expectations and what you've got.
Yeah. Before I dive into it, you know, I don't do enough shows with John when he's kind of doing a typical John discussion point. I'm chuckling. I look over at Goolsby. He's, you know, no expression at all. I'm like, man, Goolsby is used to this. I'm not. I need to do more shows with John Kennedy so that when he's doing his John Kennedy things, I'm you know, have no expression going on either. But to answer your question, my expectations were sky high because I saw what he did as the defensive coordinator that year in recruiting, and that linebacker class was outstanding in 2022, on paper at least. You know, some of the guys move positions and whatnot, but
yeah,
it was outstanding. I mean, you know, he gets to Notre Dame and they steal Tyson Ford from Oklahoma. Jury's still out of Tyson Ford, but still on paper, it's like, man, my expectations could not have been too much higher. I'm like, man, now I get Marcus Freeman on both sides of the ball. Heck, I remember the Notre Dame fans on our message board were like, hey, Mike, can we get Marcus, when he was DC, can we get him to recruit offense for us? I'm like, no, it's not really how it works. But hey, he even helped, you know, Notre Dame get a Emil Wagner, you know, when he would, before Brian Kelly left. So my expectations were pretty darn high. And I would say they have been met. If for me to say that my expectations have been exceeded, it would be like, all right, they started to sign like top 5 classes according to, you know, the On3 industry team ranking. They haven't done that. But when you look at Notre Dame, again, according to the On3 industry rankings, which, you know, uses all of the sites, Notre Dame signed 3 top 10 classes in 22, 23, and 24. Yeah, Brian Kelly never did that. Brian Kelly never even signed back-to-back top 10 classes. It was 04 to 06 or 06 to 08. I can't remember. That was the last time Notre Dame did back-to-back-to-back. And I think this ranking goes back to the early 2000s. So, and that's in Freeman's first 3 cycles, John. So it's just a metric. It's just a data point. But to answer your question directly, I would say, yeah, my expectations that were high have been met. I mean, they're landing players that I don't think they would have landed with Brian Kelly. And then I think they're doing a better job of those 3-star guys that you're going to have to take at Notre Dame. I think they're doing a better job
Evaluating
with the 3-star guys they're taking. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, what you got on that?
2 thoughts. You just said something, Singer. We're getting guys that we wouldn't have under Brian Kelly. Could you, if it's within bounds, what players did we get in maybe 2024 that we wouldn't have got under Brian Kelly that we did under a Marcus Freeman and Chad Bowden too? We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that as I buy you some time.
Yeah.
And then I also want to talk about like who are the most important players in this 2024 class? Sorry for the 3 questions back to back to back.
Okay. I missed the sec. Oh, okay. So I don't think they land Kingston. You know, I just have a hard time seeing them land him. Now, that kid should be going to Notre Dame, but I don't think Notre Dame lands Kingston Filiamu-Wasa. Do they land CJ Carr? Probably. But I don't know.
Okay.
Because Tommy Reese did a good job there, but so did Freeman, so did Bowden. Now, if it's just Brian Kelly's staff and it's just Reese doing a good job, does he commit? I don't know. No way in heck they're getting Kedron Young out of Lufkin, Texas, I feel like.
Why not? Why not? Fans want to know. Why not? Why wouldn't put in the time or the geography? What is that?
I don't know if they offer him because it's a kid from Lufkin, Texas, a small town in Texas, with offers from Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, all of the big programs in that state. I don't even know if they offer him. And then the work to get him, Dylan McCullough is a fantastic recruiter. When you were a Super Bowl champion with the modern day dynasty in the NFL, like that carries a ton of weight. So running back recruiting is in a really good spot. And even though like in the 2025 class, I don't have super highly ranked commits and Justin Thurman and Daniel Anderson, like they're guys that's like, all right. I mean, Dylan McCullough's track record, if he's going after him, you kind of believe in that a little bit. Do they land a Gerby Lambert? Would they put, because that recruitment was work. That was work. There was a period from June to when he committed, finally announced his commitment in September. It was like, all right, are you committing? Like, what are you doing? I think that was a lot of work to finally push Notre Dame over that line. I don't know if they get Gerby Lambert. If this is a Brian Kelly ran program, he might have just have been like, you know what, let's just go to Boston College, stay close at home, or let's go to Harvard, that elite academic school. I'll give you the one that I probably feel most strongly about in this is Tay Johnson. Mike, one of your dangle the carrot kids, I think, that you talk about all the time, you've been telling me for years. I think that they probably would have given up on Tay Johnson, just, with some of those academic hurdles, like Tay worked to get into Notre Dame. And round of applause for Tay to get that done. I don't know if Tay John, if Brian Kelly's staff would have given up.
So what are the big differences here then of you just rattled off a half dozen guys? They wouldn't put in the effort here, this and that. Is that all driven from Freeman's vision of being like, I don't care if it's extra work. We're going to go after these guys and see if their Notre Dame fits and it's not an excuse or whatever. Like what is causing the difference in approach now? Is that just Freeman's personality is the engine that drives it? And then everybody's got to get on board to be on the staff. Like, why is there such a stark difference?
I think
get on the jet.
If you're looking at like a beautiful Corvette, man, that is a great looking car, right? That's Freeman. Freeman is that beautiful, the outside of that car. But the engine that's driving it all, to me, is Bowden. I think that recruiting office is flying.
Yeah.
And they all love each other in that recruiting office. Like I really think that that group gets along. Carter Almond, Dre Brown, Caleb Davis, who's now at Troy with Parker. I think those guys really got along. And I think Bowden gives, like, Freeman has the vision that goes down to Bowden. And then Bowden now says, okay, Freeman, here's what you got to do with your vision. Yeah. And that goes to the assistants as well.
It sounds like a GM role that everybody's talking about is the next thing in college football. That kind of sounds like it fits the mold.
He's the GM for the recruiting side of things, Chad Bowden. And then it's my understanding that he also kind of led Notre Dame's transfer portal efforts as well. But in terms of like GMing the roster it has right now, I don't think that's kind of what his role has been. But maybe it is moving forward. That would be a really difficult role to generally manage recruiting ops, transfer ops, and your roster.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I got a follow-up question, Singer. And John, you had asked what's the difference, and this is the player thing. I just wrote down compete exclamation point. Whereas like where Mike's talking about, yeah, Brian Kelly wasn't going to go compete and just, stick it out to win a Gerby Lambert, to win a Kedron Young. And it's like, and then it's interesting how that stuff trickles down into a locker room and the actual guys. It's like, your head man's telling you everything's compete. And he's showing you he's willing to. And there's a dash of humility with some of that stuff too, that where like you have to kind of kiss the ring with some of these recruits in a way. We're on their schedule, right, Singer?
I mean, the amount of times that I would hear from Notre Dame sources where it's like, we didn't want him anyway. Just, we'll just say academics.
Same.
Just have the media just say, we couldn't get him academics. And Notre Dame fans are like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's a tough school to get into.
Yeah,
but
I couldn't get in. So, yeah, it makes sense to me.
But that would be a thing. Or, we didn't want him anyway. Like, I would hear all the time, like, if Notre Dame would ever lose a recruiting battle to a school like Stanford, people would be like, well, if you pick Stanford over Notre Dame, you're going to work out here anyways. Now, some of that probably is true, to be completely honest with you, but I think it was true too often, if that makes sense. Like Notre Dame is not, nowadays, again, does that happen sometimes? Sure. But I feel like it came up way too often before.
Yeah. I've heard that verbatim saying, he's not a Notre Dame guy anyways. If they lose a recruit, you're talking to a coach or whatever. It is interesting. And then John, Singer referenced that dangling of that carrot. And I've always asked for, let's not crucify is too strong of a word, but let's not X out a kid on our recruiting board based off of he had a rough first semester freshman year of high school. Maybe his parents were getting divorced. Maybe who knows, the car broke down. He had to transfer schools. His girlfriend dumped him. Like, let's dangle that carrot and say, hey, bud, if you go to summer school and you turn that C+ into an A-, like you're in, man, you get this score on your ACT. So that's incredibly refreshing.
Yeah.
To hear.
Yeah.
It's incredibly refreshing, and not everybody's going to make it, but it's just, to give some of those kids the opportunity. Now, Singer, the old pie chart analogy, brother. In terms of Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's current recruiting operation, how big of a slice, what percentage is Chad Bowden? 25%, 50%, that recruiting?
To what?
The whole operation. So it's like, if you look at Notre Dame.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I've never been in one of their meetings as much as I would love to have that. So I couldn't. I would be totally guessing, man.
John and I
it's a good chunk. I would say it's a good chunk.
John and I talked about this.
Mike, before you go ahead. I just remember hearing around, last week, it's not that long ago, when the rumors were flying about him in Michigan, like, man, if he would have left, as Notre Dame recruiting would be in a tough spot. Okay. So maybe that answers your question a little bit. Sure, like it's a high percentage. Is that 25 or 50? I don't know, but it's a good chunk.
Then my other last question, could John do Chad Bowden's job? Would he be a good fit? I was trying to make that.
I would give John Kennedy a week tops. He would get so frustrated and flame out.
These kids, I would probably not have the patience.
I would pay to see it.
Singer, I don't know if I could have the patience to do what you do, man. This recruiting, dude, in the mid-2000s, it almost killed me just following Notre Dame. And I was like, bro, that was when there was one website and you hit refresh once an hour to see if there was a new article. And I remember thinking, this is what I'm doing with my life. Instead of going out chasing girls around, I'm on the couch hitting refresh to see if we get, some recruit and he never even comes. Like, it would burn me out, Singer. I don't think I could handle it. And the entitlement and all the entourage. Dude, I don't know if I'm built for that.
Yeah, it's got its pros and cons. Like there's definitely some things where I'm like, man, covering Peyton Bowen's recruitment. Yeah. I lost a couple of years. I lost a couple of years. But, you guys have your Patreon side hustle. I play video games on Twitch. It's very, very much I mean, it's a very small side hustle. It's just kind of for fun. I had Deuce Knight and Justin Thurman on. I was playing Fortnite with them last week or the week before. And that was totally a blast. So much fun. You know, those kids wanted to play video games with me. I'm 30 now, so I'm still young. I'm younger than you two, but I'm ancient in the eyes of teenagers. So that made me feel good and like, all right, like, you know, Mike Singer's still a little bit cool. Like these kids want to play video games with me. So you know, that was neat. So there's definitely some pros and cons. I would say, because I've covered a bunch of schools. I mean, you name it, there's a decent chance I've covered the school because I've been in this for coming up on 11 years. And I was offered a job before we came to On3 covering Georgia, the Bulldogs at Rivals. And, you know, I know the publisher well. I wasn't offered the job. He was gauging my interest. But, you know, I was going to get the job. You know. Anyway, so, he calls me up and he's a buddy. So it was a quick no. I was like, I'm not covering another school but Notre Dame. And then we just got, shooting the shit for a few minutes. But like, I would have a hard time seeing myself covering another school than Notre Dame. It's just a great gig. I mean, you're dealing with such great kids. Deuce Knight and Justin Thurman, man.
Yeah.
So much fun. I mean, is there drama? It's recruiting, sure, but it's a great beat, man. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm coming up on 5 years of covering
Singer,
Notre Dame. It's great.
Is it that noticeably different?
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
I'm grabbing onto that now that you
Oh
say
yeah.
it.
Oh
But
yeah.
as far as like the whole ecosystem and like
Yes.
the type of people that Notre Dame
Yes.
would gravitate towards and would gravitate
Yep.
to it, the
100%.
players, the coaches, their families, it's all like an ecosystem. Is that what you mean? Like
Yeah.
the vibe?
Look, I mean, that's not to say like other schools I've covered, their recruits are like bad kids, but there's like good and then there's great and then there's amazing. Like some of these families that I get to deal with, it's not just like a working relationship now. It's like, all right, like these are some of my close people, you know? Like if I have something major going on in my life, I am telling them and sending them pictures. Like it's that close because these are just amazing people that I get to interact with. So it's a great gig. Now, some of the former players that I interact with, maybe from the Willingham era, not great.
I know.
For sure. I've heard bad things. Bad things.
Nothing but attitude. Nothing but attitude from them guys.
Can I ask you to dig into that a little bit? So like talk to me about these relationships. Like give me off the top. I know you're like you love Joe Alt. Like you like obviously Angeli, and part of this is due to the relationships with families and the relationship you built covering their recruitment. Like hypothetically, arbitrarily, maybe, how often are you talking to these families during a recruiting process? A case by case?
Yeah, definitely. Depends on what's going on. If there's a little bit of drama going on behind the scenes, school trying to flip them away, maybe it's a little bit more. But depends on how much, the parents reaching out to me versus, me having to reach out to them. But yeah,
so why would a parent reach out to you?
How much time do we have
to get the angle they want out? Make sure.
No, I mean, it could be anything. Film, new stats. Dude, there's literally no limit. I mean, they watch my shows all the time, and I forget about that. Like, hey, Singer, great show. There's a commit in the 2025 class. I was doing a Wednesday show with Tim. It wasn't even about recruiting. 45 minutes in, I just happened to mention the recruit's name. And the mom messaged me. She's like, "Oh, I just was watching your show and you mentioned my son's name. And, I paused it and he came in the room and it's like, I'll get, hit up about that. I mean, it could literally be anything." But yeah, the families, the kids are great. All the kids are great. The families, man, the parents, the brothers, like I get to know a lot of people in this and it's pretty special.
Singer, I got to ask you this. Now you got my wheels spinning. How often are you dropped a piece of knowledge or information in your circle from a player, from a coach, from their family, whatever? How often do you drop something where in your mind you're going, oh, baby, this would be hot if I could put it on the boards or put it on YouTube, but I'm not able to because of the dynamic? How often do you get something that juicy? Is it like once every few months? Is it once a week you're hearing
Daily.
and then how do you figure out what's legit or not?
Daily, multiple times a day, for sure. And a lot of it can
that
be
often with
yes,
this drama.
yes. And a lot of it can be like kind of gossip. It's one side of the story. Now, if I was running a gossip site, then I would be able to print all that stuff, then, probably lose some trust in some people. But
Right.
yeah, dude, multiple times a day.
Wow.
Unless I'm just like head down writing and I'm not talking to anyone. But yeah, multiple times a day. Now, sometimes it's kind of communicated. This is between me and you. You hear that phrase off the record, but a lot of times, John, I just got to use my brain and say, is this something that's appropriate? And most of the time, it's no.
Yeah.
For a multitude of reasons. But there's a lot of people out there that don't really know how much I've protected them because, something like if they would have told this to a different reporter, it would be posted somewhere. And I'm like, I would rather be later on a story than like potentially screw somebody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can't believe it's that often.
Jeez. Dude, no idea.
Some of that stuff, yeah, like Singer, it feels kind of icky. Like you don't want to be in that, when this whole Chancey Stuckey thing came down the pipeline with him getting fired, all that drama, and it's like, some stuff comes out of the woodwork, falls in my lap, and I really wrestle with that, John. If you remember, like, do I want to get in the business of like breaking these stories? It's none of my business,
And Mike, imagine it being now 16, 17-year-old kids. Sure. And it's like getting in the rumor mill. Like, remember Billy Strauss recruitment? There's grown-ass men reporting about, him and his girlfriend broke up. I'm like, get a freaking life. Like, this is a minor we're talking about. You guys are report, like, did I know about all this? Yes. But I will not entertain rumors, talking about things like this. So does that provide my subscribers less information? Sure. But am I going to sleep better at night? Yes. So I'll take that.
But that's why you have all those anonymous Twitter accounts, Singer. So, John, we're wondering who's breaking all this information.
What's your burner? Let me know your burner. Do you guys remember when Kelly's burner got caught responding to me? It was on the Pat McAfee show.
What?
No.
You guys
I never heard any of it.
Slacking. Kelly took off to LSU, forgot to log out. Either him or one of his camp was on what he thought was a burner, but he didn't log out, and it was still connected to like his Instagram or something, but he forgot to switch the burner. Then whoever it was saying shit to me, and then Pat McAfee grabbed it and put it on his show being like, is Brian Kelly dropping news?
No chance.
I know I got under that guy's skin.
No chance it was Brian Kelly. I don't think he wrote many tweets when he was at Notre Dame.
I'm sure it's his camp, but somebody was under his account on what they thought was a burner, but you could tell it was really linked to his Instagram. It was hilarious. So I like knowing whoever that was on me.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I think what you're saying, that your role, Mike, it's so interesting to me because, when I was a recruit, and this whole recruiting thing was so much less evolved when you're talking about 1998, 1999, whatever. But it's like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. So you must have a really unique approach to dealing with these families and their recruits to kind of win them over. And I was training Teddy Rizak yesterday, John. Nice. And I just said to him, I was like, you want me to film some of this and put it on Twitter? It's like, nope, not at all. I was like, okay, because people are interested about, your transitional linebacker. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay, got it. And I just said to him, I was like, I will never ask you for any information. Like our relationship, sacred's a funny word, but like this is sacred. So it's like, you ever need anything, you call me, but I'm not going to be using you as a source that's in the locker room. Yeah. Hell no.
How do you, Mike, how do you gain that trust? Is that word of mouth with the other guys that you could be trusted with information, or how do you do that? Because all it would take is maybe one miscommunication or misstep, and then it turns away from you in that way. That's tricky to navigate too.
Yeah. I do think there's a little bit of like, like, hey, is this singer guy okay? There is some of that.
I can understand the initial concern for
I
sure, but
I
we
would too.
gotta wear him down eventually.
I would too, but honestly, I just don't really push it. Like, I'll reach out, to different people, just introduce myself, and just kind of see where it goes. But if I were, let's say Mike Goolsby's a class of 2025 recruit, and he, has his Twitter DMs closed. He's not following back. He's not texting back. Brennan Vernon. That's what Brennan Vernon was. Fantastic interview. Just like I know. I've been interviewing Mike Goolsby for years, and I've read some stuff, from when he was a player at Notre Dame, and reading his quotes. Mike Goolsby's a tremendous interview, but maybe he doesn't want to give many interviews. I love that. I know I probably shouldn't, but I like when, especially my offensive linemen, don't talk to the media. I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah.
But
it's like retro respect almost, in a way. You're like, and
100%.
Brennan Vernon's mind is old school football-y. I don't care about anything else. I just want to hit you, and I love it.
Inject it into my veins.
Yeah.
But the best, when it goes to another level, is when they text me, say, "Hey, Mr. Singer." Always a good thing when you say Mr. Singer. I mean, Mr. and Mrs. these days, you don't hear it a ton with the kids. We like hearing it, John. But it's, hey, I'm not interested in doing interviews. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great day. Now that is like, all right, now I know that, I don't need to hit him up.
Yeah.
He was respectfully and just said no. So that's really
also,
the best.
Mike, that's also good to know, because that's different than if somebody was like, oh, I heard you're a rat. I don't want to talk to you, but I'll talk to other people. If they just go, I'm not doing interviews, then there's nothing else really you could do. That's just how they are. Yeah. That's not a shot on you. That's just their preference.
Mike, I have a question. So this whole recruiting industry is an industry that kind of built itself. It's a lot like the wedding industry. If you think about it, my parents have been together 45 years. It's like there's two people in the wedding, little quarter-carat ring. Like, the wedding industry is out of control. But like, the recruiting industry built itself. What's in it for a recruit? If I'm a 2025 recruit, what's in it for me? Now, I ask that, like, it keeps me more relevant. But then when you're on the phone with some of these guys, with texting, presumably, is there any like back and forth? Do they ask you any questions in terms of like trying to get like the actual story, a glimpse behind the Notre Dame curtain?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Very good.
Buddy.
In a phone interview, like I am calling you to get the scoop on your visit, probably not. But text messages, yes, that happens. Rare, but yes, that does happen.
Where they're trying to get intel?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because there's
rare, but, and then to answer your first question, 5-10 years ago, I might say, Mike, I have no idea why they do these interviews. I think now with NIL and raising your brand, there's more reason than ever. Like, if you're but we see this all the time, when you're a lower level recruit, you don't have a lot of offers. Like, you want to do all of the interviews. You want to raise your profile, and then you get to be big time. You stop doing the interviews. We see this every cycle. But I think it's kind of coming down. That's coming down a little bit. When you're more big time, you want to keep raising your profile. You do the different interviews. You're doing, media. You have your own.
Put out that tweet. Notre Dame fan, what's good? Follow me.
Notre Dame fan, what's good? I have an entourage at my high school game. They're following me around in warm-ups and filming me walking around, like, Travis Hunter's, streaming to thousands of people on Twitch or whatever it is. Heck, Tyreek Hill does that. So there's definitely more leaning in, at the college level, high school level, of, embracing media a little bit more for what it can do for their brand.
Well, guys, we've gone well over an hour already. Anything we didn't cover? Anything we want to hit before we get out of here? We do this every time where we're like, oh, we'll have enough time to do, and then it flies right by. Anything else we didn't hit on that you want to hit before we're finished?
I'm good.
No,
I'm good.
No, that was fun.
I didn't expect to go this route here at the end where I'm getting quiz. I love it. I've never had people asking me some of these questions, so I enjoyed this, boys.
Yeah, you got a really unique role in this ecosystem, and it's just interesting to see kind of behind the veil there, because that industry's wild, man,
Dude.
and it's
Yeah,
not
no.
slowing down either. It's just going to be the next thing and the next thing. I don't know where it's going to go next,
I
but
have one more question.
it's wild.
One more question. Singer, I promise. When I was a recruit, it was like etched in stone. The 5 things that your decision hinged off of was like location, playing time. That was pretty, location, playing time. What else would matter back then? Like
Girls,
Relationships still.
coaching, relationships. But it was just like, so that's probably like old school. What are the top 3 or 4 things that kids take into consideration now? I get it was like academics, location, early playing time, like training facilities. Does that
I
matter? NIL. I mean,
no.
what's changed?
I think for most kids, it's still those same things, man. It's
Interesting.
relationships, it's location, it's academics. I think for a like a vocal minority, and when I say vocal, I mean in terms of reporting and what you see on Twitter, it can be NIL. But those major NIL recruitments that you read about are, you know, they're few and far between, unless I'm just totally naive and I'm covering Notre Dame, and Notre Dame really doesn't get into too many bidding wars like that. So I would still say it's different. It's coaches wearing leprechaun outfits, Mike, but at the end of the day, that's relationship building. Is it phone, or is it FaceTimes instead of phone calls? Sure, but it's still the same crap at the end of the day.
All right.
interesting. Very interesting. Well, this was fun, man. It's great to get the band together. And then I'll offer you guys, you ever need somebody to step in on your show, hop back over to Blue and Gold, fill in a slot when you need it. I'd love to do that, especially like you said, in the off season, man. It gives you things aren't as time constrained, so you could get around a little bit, have more fun with things. You're not on the same day-to-day deadline. So I'd love to jump around. Let me know. I'd love to jump over there with you guys too.
John, just so you know, the next time I call into your show, you bump me up to the top of the line. You don't make me wait 45 minutes like you
Singer,
did last time.
here's
Okay.
what happened, bro.
Poor form, John.
Here's what happened. So I have my screen here. Off to the side, I have my second screen that I keep the call-in line software on. If enough people call, some of the names get bumped down the screen where you don't see them unless you scroll. And we had something cooking that night, and he called in later, and it was at the bottom, and I didn't see it for like an hour or more. I'm sorry. I felt bad. After that, I do check it, dude. I left you hanging, and you still came on.
I did. My wife was out of town, and I had played enough video games that day where it was like 9:00 at night or something on a Friday. I don't know what the hell you were doing, John. Friday night, doing a live show
on a Friday night. That's what I do. I talk to my people, man.
And it got to like a half hour, and I was like, you know what? I got to see this thing through. I can't hang up after a half hour. It doesn't matter how long. I am waiting to get my shot here, and then I think you had me on for a half hour. So the next time my area code, you bump that thing up there. Don't make me.
I will,
because now you don't know when I'm going to call in. I know you do those morning shows. I could easily hop in, between articles. So you never know, man.
I will look for you now. But it was good to have you on board, and I'm sorry I did make you wait, but it was good. That means business is good. That means I had like 20-something callers. That means business is good, baby.
We'll take it.
Beautiful. Well, thanks everybody. This was a ton of fun. We'll do more together this offseason. This is great. We didn't even get into half the topics I had on the board here either. So we're going to have to do a reunion here and get this back. So thank you guys for both of your time. Make sure you go subscribe to Blue and Gold. See both of these guys there. See me and Mike here. See us on Patreon. We're all over. Have a good night, Irish Nation.